What if everything you think you know about Iran is wrong? Most people have never actually seen Iran. They've seen headlines. They've seen political maps and news footage and travel warnings. But the actual country, the mountains, the cities, the deserts, the people, that version of Iran almost never makes it through. And that's a problem. Because what's actually here is one of the most extraordinary places on Earth. An ancient empire that invented algebra, built cities while Europe was still living in mud huts. And created architectural masterpieces that architects still can't fully explain. A country where you can stand in a desert hotter than Death Valley in the morning and reach a forest older than the Amazon by afternoon. A place with 27 UNESCO World Heritage Sites that receives a fraction of the tourists that smaller, less remarkable countries attract every year. This video is about the real Iran, not the one in the headlines. The one that's been here for 7,000 years, quietly waiting to be seen. But before we get to the places, there are some facts you need to hear. Because without them, nothing you're about to see will make complete sense. And some of these facts are so surprising that even most Iranians have never heard them. Let's start with something that should be impossible. Iran is simultaneously one of the driest countries on Earth and one of the greenest. That's not a contradiction, it's geography. The Zagros Mountains run like a spine down the west of the country. The Alborz Range seals the north, and between them and around them, Iran contains every climate zone on the planet. Desert, alpine, subtropical, steppe, rainforest. All within the same borders. In the south, the Lut Desert recorded the hottest land surface temperature ever measured anywhere on Earth. In the north, ancient forests have been growing continuously for more than 50 million years. Both of these things are Iran at the same time. Here's another one. The Persian Empire, at its peak under Darius the Great, was the largest empire the world had ever seen. It stretched from the Balkans in the west to the Indus River in the east. Covering around 5.5 million square kilometers. roughly 2.1 million square miles. It contained more than 40% of the world's population at the time, and it was governed not through fear alone, but through a system of tolerance and administration that historians still study. Conquered peoples were allowed to keep their languages, their religions, and their local rulers. Persian roads connected the empire so efficiently that messages could travel from one end to the other in a week. This was 2,500 years ago. And here's the part most people miss entirely. That empire didn't disappear. It transformed. Persian language, Persian art, Persian architecture, Persian mathematics, Persian poetry. These things spread across Asia and the Middle East. And left traces that are still visible today in India, in Central Asia, in Turkey, in the Gulf. When you visit the Taj Mahal, you are looking at Persian garden design. When you read a medieval European algebra textbook, you are using a system developed by Persian scholars. Iran is not a country that once mattered and then faded. It is a country whose influence has been so total and so lasting that most of the world is living inside it without knowing. Now, let's talk about some specific facts that will change how you see every place in this video. Iran has the largest network of underground aqueducts in the world. These are called qanats, and the oldest ones are more than 3,000 years old. They work entirely on gravity. No pumps, no machinery, no electricity. A qanat taps into groundwater at the base of a mountain and channels it through an underground tunnel that can run for dozens of kilometers before emerging at a village in the middle of the desert. There are over 30,000 qanats still functioning in Iran today. Together, they deliver water to millions of people using technology invented before the Roman Empire existed. The Romans, for all their engineering genius, never built anything like this. Iran also invented the refrigerator, not the electric kind. The ancient kind, called a yakhchal. These were large dome structures built next to wind catchers that directed cold winter air. into underground chambers. Ice and snow collected in winter was stored in these chambers and kept frozen throughout the summer. Using nothing but shade, airflow, and clever design. In a country where summer temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius, (122 degrees Fahrenheit), people were eating chilled desserts made with ice cream, rose water, and saffron 2,000 years ago. One more thing before we get to the locations. Iran is the 17th largest country in the world. Bigger than France, Germany, Spain, and the United Kingdom combined. That size matters because it means the diversity of what you're about to see is not a collection of highlights from a small country. It is a compressed version of a continent. Now, let's go. Hormuz Island sits in the Strait of Hormuz, where the Persian Gulf meets the Gulf of Oman. And from the air, it looks like someone spilled an entire paint set into the sea. The soil here is so rich in minerals, particularly iron oxide, that the ground runs in shades of deep red, burnt orange, bright yellow, chalky white, and in some places a dusty purple. The red beach on the southern shore is one of the most surreal coastlines on Earth. Waves of blue-green water crash against sand the color of rust. The contrast is so extreme that photographs of this place are regularly dismissed as edited. They are not. But here is the detail that makes Hormuz genuinely strange. The red soil is edible. Locals grind it into a spice called golak. And use it in traditional dishes mixed with fish and sesame. You are standing on a beach where the sand is a cooking ingredient. Geologists love this island because its surface is essentially a cross-section of the Earth's mineral history. Layers of volcanic and sedimentary rock exposed by millions of years of erosion. The entire island is only 42 square kilometers. You can walk across it in an afternoon, and almost nobody outside Iran has heard of it. From Hormuz, head north into the interior, and the landscape shifts immediately. The color drains out of the world. The vegetation disappears. And you arrive in a place that looks less like Earth and more like a planet that hasn't been finished yet. The Lut Desert is not the largest desert in Iran, but it is the most extreme. NASA satellites measuring land surface temperatures recorded a reading of 70 degrees Celsius, 159 degrees Fahrenheit, on the Gandambarian Plateau at the heart of the Lut. That is the highest land surface temperature ever recorded anywhere on Earth. Not just in Iran, anywhere on the entire planet. The plateau that holds this record is a vast field of dark basalt rock that absorbs heat like a battery and releases it slowly through the night. Nothing lives on the plateau itself. But at the edges of the Lut, in the salt flats and the wind-carved ridges called Ka-Luts, researchers found something that changed the conversation about life on other planets. Microbial organisms, living in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Surviving in ways that should not be possible. Scientists studying extremophiles in the Lut are using what they find there to model what life might look like on Mars. Because from the air, the Lut and Mars look almost identical. The Ka-Luts are the visual showpiece of the Lut. These are massive ridges of sand and sediment, carved by wind over millions of years into formations that stretch for kilometers. From above, they look like the ruins of an ancient city that was never built by humans. From ground level, walking between them, the scale is disorienting. The walls rise 10, 20, 30 meters on each side. The passages between them are completely silent. There is no wind here. No water, no sound of any living thing, just the geometry of erosion. Working patiently across time frames that make a human lifetime invisible. Persepolis is the place where the Persian Empire made its greatest statement. And even now, 2,300 years after Alexander the Great burned it to the ground, that statement is still being made. The complex was built by Darius the Great around 500 BCE. On a raised stone platform in the hills above the plain of Marv Dasht. Its purpose was ceremonial. This was where delegations from across the empire came to pay tribute at the Persian New Year, and everything about the design was intended to communicate one thing: the the scale of Persian power. The gate of all nations, which every visitor passed through, was flanked by enormous stone bulls. The Apadana, the great audience hall, had a roof supported by 72 columns, each 20 meters tall. The walls were covered in carved reliefs showing delegations from 23 different nations. Each one depicted with their specific clothing, their specific gifts, their specific physical features. Ethiopians, Indians, Babylonians, Greeks, Scythians. All of them rendered in stone with a precision and a humanity that makes them feel less like propaganda and more like portraiture. What Alexander burned was not just a building. It was the physical center of an empire that had defined the ancient world for 2 centuries. The fire took several days. The ash layer is still visible in the archaeological record. And what survived the fire has survived everything since. Walking through Persepolis today, past columns that still stand after 25 centuries, past carvings of faces that look like they were finished last year, the feeling is not of ruin. It is of interruption, as if something was happening here and was simply stopped. Yaz sits in the middle of the Iranian plateau, surrounded by desert on every side. And it has survived there for at least 5,000 years. Most cities in that situation would have died when their water supply ran out, or when the heat became unmanageable. Yazd solved both problems so elegantly that the solutions are still working today. The wind catchers, called bad gears, are the most visible solution. These are tall towers built above houses that catch the wind at height. And channel it down through the building and into underground rooms. Creating airflow that can lower indoor temperatures by 15 degrees or more. Even on the hottest days. Every traditional house in Yazd has at least one. Some have 4, oriented in different directions to catch wind from any angle. The skyline of the old city is a forest of these towers. And from above, it looks like nothing else on Earth. The water solution is the Qanat. Yazd sits at the end of a Qanat system. that runs from the mountains 40 kilometers away. Carrying water through an underground channel that has been maintained and extended for over 2,000 years. The water arrives cold, clean, and constant. Regardless of what the desert above is doing. The houses above the Kanat channels built underground storage rooms called Ab Anbars, where water was kept cool for drinking. Some of these storage chambers are still in use. But what makes Yazd feel different from other ancient cities is the Zoroastrian community that has kept its traditions here for 1,500 years. Zoroastrianism is one of the world's oldest religions. Founded by the prophet Zoroaster. Somewhere between 1500 and 1000 BCE. It was the state religion of the Persian Empire. Its central concept, the eternal conflict between light and darkness, good and evil, influenced Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In ways that scholars are still tracing. And at the fire temple in Yazd, a flame that was lit in the year 470 CE is still burning. It has been burning continuously for over 1,500 years. Moved several times to protect it from invaders and from history. But never extinguished. Isfahan was called Nisf-e-Jahan in Persian. Half the world. That name was not modesty, and it was not exaggeration. It was a statement about what Shah Abbas the Great built here in the early 17th century. When he made Isfahan the capital of the Safavid Empire. He wanted a city that would outshine every other city on earth. And by most accounts, he succeeded. Nakshi Jahan Square is the heart of what he built. It is one of the largest public squares in the world. Measuring 512 meters long and 160 meters wide. But the dimensions are not the point. The point is what surrounds it. The Shah Mosque on the south side is faced entirely in tile work of 7 different colors that shift as the light changes. Its dome is 54 meters high. Its minaret tilts slightly inward so that from the inside, the proportions appear perfectly vertical. That tilt was not a mistake, it was calculated. The Sheikh Lotfola Mosque on the east side was built for the royal harem and has no minaret and no courtyard because it was never meant for the public. Inside, a single oculus at the top of the dome sends a beam of light that moves across the tile floor like a sundial through the course of the day. The effect is so precise that historians believe it was intentional. The Ali Kapu Palace on the west side of the square contains a music room on its upper floor, whose walls are carved with the shapes of vases and musical instruments not as decoration, but as acoustic engineering. The carved cavities absorb and shape sound in ways that made the room perfect for musical performance. This was the 17th century. Mashhad is the most visited city in Iran and one of the most visited cities in the Islamic world, drawing more than 20 million pilgrims every year to the shrine of Imam Reza, the 8th Imam of Shia Islam, who died and was buried here in the year 818 CE. The shrine complex has grown around his tomb for 12 centuries, and today, it covers an area of more than 550,000 square meters. Roughly 6 million square feet. It contains mosques, libraries, museums, courtyards, and enough gold leaf on its dome to be visible from miles outside the city. But what makes Mashhad interesting beyond its religious significance is what the concentration of pilgrims has built around it. The city functions as a kind of self-contained civilization, organized around a single point. Hotels, bazaars, food stalls, transport network, medical facilities all radiate outward from the shrine in layers of increasing ordinariness. At the center is the most intensely decorated space most visitors will ever stand in. At the edges is a city of 4 million people living the entirely ordinary life of a major Iranian city. The transition between the two, walking from the tiled inner courtyards outward, through the bazaar into the streets, happens in about 15 minutes and covers about 12 centuries. The Alborz Mountains separate the hot, dry interior of Iran from the Caspian coast to the north, and crossing them from Tehran is one of the most dramatic geographical transitions available by car anywhere in the world. On the southern side of the pass, the landscape is brown and dry and treeless. By the time you reach the northern coast, the air is thick with moisture. The road is lined with trees, and the light is the particular soft green light of a forest in constant rain. The Hyrcanian forests that cover this coastal strip are not a young forest. They are not a recovering forest. They are one of the last surviving fragments of a forest type that once covered most of the northern hemisphere before the ice ages. The trees here, Persian oak, Caucasian wingnut, velvet maple, Caspian locust, have been growing in this specific location for more than 50 million years. They survived the ice ages because the Alborz Mountains protected this coastal strip from the worst of the glacial cold, creating a refuge where the ancient forest could continue while everything around it froze and died. UNESCO designated the Hyrcanian forests a World Heritage Site in 2019. Leopards still live in the higher elevations. Brown bears move through the valleys. The Persian leopard, one of the largest leopard subspecies in the world, hunts in the forest above villages that have been farming the same terraced hillsides for centuries. Most visitors to Iran never come here. Most visitors to Iran never know it exists. Kandivon is the answer to a question most people never think to ask. What happens when people build a village inside a volcanic eruption? The village sits in East Azerbaijan province on the slopes of Mount Seyhan. A dormant volcano whose ancient eruptions left behind a landscape of cone-shaped rock formations called troglodyte cones. The cones formed when lava flows buried older rock, and the buried rock eroded faster than the hardened lava caps above it. leaving pointed spires of softer rock protected by harder caps, hundreds of them. Clustered together on the hillside like a city of stone chimneys. People have been carving homes into these cones for at least 700 years. The rock is soft enough to excavate with hand tools, but hard enough to hold its shape for centuries. The cones act as natural insulation, staying cool in summer and retaining heat in winter. A house carved into a cone in Kandivon maintains a relatively stable interior temperature regardless of what the weather outside is doing. Today, the village has electricity and running water, and in some cases, wireless internet. All installed into dwellings that were carved out of volcanic rock 7 centuries ago. People still live here, not for tourists, not as a museum exhibit. This is where they are from and where they choose to stay. Tabriz sits in the northwest of Iran, near the border with Turkey and Azerbaijan. And it has been a crossroads for long enough that its identity is genuinely plural. Ethnically Azerbaijani, linguistically Turkish, historically Persian, politically Iranian. The city has been the capital of empires, a stop on the Silk Road, a center of carpet production, a base for merchants trading between East and West for more than 1,000 years. The Grand Bazaar of Tabriz is the largest covered bazaar in the world. Seven kilometers of interconnected corridors under domed brick ceilings. Organized into sections for different trades as it has been since the 10th century. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. On a busy day, it contains more commercial activity. More human density, more sensory information than most people can process at once. Tehran is the end point of this journey and also the beginning of most people's experience of Iran. Because it's where the planes land. And it is the city that most consistently surprises visitors who arrive expecting one thing and encounter something completely different. 13 million people. A metro system that carries millions of passengers daily. Restaurants serving food from every cuisine on Earth. traffic that makes the city feel like it is constantly in the process of becoming something else. And above all of it, visible on clear days from almost anywhere in the city, the snow-covered summit of Mount Damavand, rising to 5,610 meters. 18,046 feet, the highest volcano in Asia. Damavand is not just a mountain. In Persian mythology, it is the place where the tyrant Zahak was chained by the hero Feridun after his defeat. Bound inside the volcano to sleep until the end of days, when he will be released and the final battle will be fought. The mountain appears in the Shahnameh, the Persian Book of Kings. The longest poem ever written by a single poet. Composed by Ferdowsi over 30 years in the 10th and 11th centuries. The Shahnameh is 60,000 verses long. It preserves the mythology and history of Iran, from the creation of the world to the Arab conquest, in a form so complete and so beautiful that it is credited with saving the Persian language from extinction. After the conquest replaced it in official use. Iranians still quote it. Children still memorize sections of it. A mountain visible from the capital city of a modern nation of 87 million people. Carries inside it the mythology of a poem written 1,000 years ago. That is Iran. That is what 7,000 years of continuous civilization produces. Everything is layered, everything connects, and no matter how much you see, you always feel like you are only at the beginning. You have just seen the empire that shaped the ancient world. Now, travel to the opposite end of the earth, where a different kind of extreme is waiting. Click now to explore Antarctica, the frozen continent's secret wildlife havens. And discover what life looks like when it has nowhere left to go but survive.